There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Look at that. Today, I want you to think of all that you are instead of all that you are not. How about that? Just for a day, everybody. Hello to you. Bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. How are you? I spent last evening with two lovely ladies. That would be Christina and Carolina from EI. We were talking about the digital nomad visa. That will be up on the Expats Portugal channel soon. What a great evening that was. Excellent stuff. Keep up the great work, EI. And that is the white heat of visa, of not visa technology exactly, but the visa situation here in Portugal. It's the exciting new visa for digital nomads, quite progressive, you could say, for Portugal. And it kind of sets the scene, actually, for the conversation I hope to be having with Frank, who's here with us. Oh, haven't done a ticker tape this morning, but Frank's here from 9 o'clock this morning, and we'll have the usual mirth and merriment and malarkey with Frank, and then we'll get a little bit serious from around 9:30. He and I are both of Middle Eastern extraction. That's in our DNA and genes. And I think we have a slightly different view. Well, everyone has a different view, don't they? But the view we would like to bring to you, and something we share, is this interesting view of being in the West, but kind of not of the West, if you see what I mean. So I'm thinking that's going to be a pretty interesting discussion. So yes, getting a little bit more going from the feel good to the philosophical, and hopefully we can blend the two from around 9 o'clock when Frank joins us this morning from the Algarve. I wonder what the weather's like down there. And I wonder if I've got a ticker tape still ready from last time. Probably something about putting the sex in sexta-feira, I would have thought. It's Feel Good Friday. No, not that one. I'm gonna have to deal with that between now and 9 o'clock without you noticing. That could be a little competition, couldn't it? To see if I can do the ticker tape without you noticing. I think I know how I'm going to do that. We have a brand new. If I take you over to Spotify now, this is a really great bit of news this morning. A couple of interesting things to share with you, or a couple of exciting things to share with you. Les has released his second song in our series. Well, he's been releasing songs ever since the beginning of the pandemic that have been keeping people cheerful. He's 90 years of age. He was out dancing and fainted last weekend. He's such a legend. And he's back with another song, All of Me. Why not take all of me? And we'll play that for you this morning because he's an inspirational fellow. Certainly somebody me and Frank can look up to. Dedicated to all the ladies, of course. And then daughter Sally says, what about the men? Oh, yeah, okay. Men as well. So another song from Les this morning, and news of the big new show that will be going out. I'm saying tomorrow night, Saturday night, but it's actually the early hours of Sunday morning. I'll be up until 1, into the early hours of Sunday. So I'll be up at 1 on Sunday morning in 2 days' time for the new show, which is Hello America, This is Portugal. And now, why didn't we think of this before? I'll tell you more about that in just a little while. But let's bring Les to you to open the batting on this Feel Good Friday. This is Les's song of the week for this week, and All of Me. Take it away, Les. Oh, and of course, your cat, who, if you listen closely, the cat joins in at the end of this. The cat is similarly inspired. Oh, yeah, and I was going to show you how we've also got, oh, that doesn't work. I'm trying to show you my Spotify screen. Well, take it from me. Les is over on Spotify as well now. We podcast him as well as give him a playlist on our YouTube channel. So if you want to help spread the legend, the inspirational legend around the world, that is the Kaldash Crooner, let your friends know whether it be via podcast or YouTube, they can subscribe to Les's wonderful work. And he's in We've got Deagle as well. Theme tune to Frasier. I was just thinking how complex and wonderful our opening tune is. Listening to the chord progression in there. Warren has done an amazing job. Interesting comment too. Thank you, Warren, for your comments on the show that I did with Andy the Doc Thompson earlier on this week as well. Thank you for your comments there. Coach Turner's in as well. James too. So I think the Gumpers seem a bit sleepy this morning, perhaps. Let's see what we can do with Les singing and seeing if he brings a few more girls to the yard, as it were. Take it away, Les.
Hello everybody, Les here again with my cat, or should I say Sally's cat. I think she's going to join in with me today. Anyway, I was blown away by all the compliments last week. Thank you all very, very much indeed. And for those who did wish me a happy birthday, it wasn't my birthday, somebody got it wrong somewhere. It's not till July. Now the song I want to sing this week is called All of Me. It's by Frank Sinatra, and it's especially for a young lady called Jill Button. I don't know her, but I'm sure she's a lovely lady, like all of you ladies out there. So here we go.
And the men are nice.
Let's hope she likes it. Oh, and new men, of course. All of me, why not take all of me? Can't you see I'm no good without you? Take my lips, I want to lose them. Take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart. So why not take all of me? Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. How can I ever make it without you? You got the part that used to be my heart. So why not take all of me? Hope you liked it, Jill.
Legend, 90 years of age, is still rocking it at dinner dances and every week for us here on the Good Morning Portugal show. Lives in Caldas de Rainha, hence the name, the Caldas Crooner. Good effort there, Les, fantastic. You can find him on our YouTube channel and on the podcast now. I liked the opening where the bell rang at the outset. We still have the bell. We still have the bell nom de plume. Good morning to you. Thank you for your comments noted about the new Hello America. This is Portugal show. Love to hear the whistle tune again. The whistle tune, it's like the Terminator. It will not die. Okay, we'll find a way of incorporating the whistle tune in as well. Great Steve Martin film, All of Me. Yes, of course. And good morning, everyone, from Gerard Shaped Box, who enjoyed Les's singing there. What a lovely voice. Love it every week. It is very similar. Well, we're similar to Frasier, are we? I've got to check that out. I really, wow, didn't know that. Frank, Coach Turner, pleased to see that Frank will be joining us at 9. See, ticker tape's there now. Bon dia, Gumpers. You're in for a treat this morning. Is this your God Squad tip of the day treat then? Let's get straight into that, shall we? Morning, everybody. So glad you're here. God Squad tip of the day. It's been Arms Week. So not those sorts of arms. We're trying to calm all that sort of stuff down, sending tanks here and there to stoke up the World War III. This is war on the flab. So it's been Arms Week. So to finish, how about an old favorite, tricep dips? Ooh, isn't that a dinosaur? Facing away from a worktop or sturdy table. Don't take it personally, worktop. Put your hands on the top surface and lower yourself down. This looks like it's going to be a Spider-Man move, doesn't it? Once your elbows are at about 90 degrees, push back up again, says Coach Turner. 10 reps is a good number. You can increase the difficulty by finding lower surfaces to work with. Wander around your house looking for lower surfaces to work with. Oh, I see. Yes, I see how that would increase the complexity and difficulty of that particular exercise. Great job. Thank you, Coach Turner. On the subject of Western exceptionalism, that hadn't occurred to me to describe it as that. But that's the. I really don't quite know what we're going to say. It's just a conversation that came up while the World Cup was on. And the sort of condescension that came about from the Western view of Qatar. Now, that's not to say, let's be a bit nuanced and complex here. That's not to say that there may be things wrong with, or certainly, we may have judgments about Qatar. But it's interesting, isn't it, how we have a particular kind of set of prejudices that don't seem to get challenged too often, because maybe it's something to do with what Coach Turner's saying here. We're born into it and we pick up judgments and beliefs, don't we? And we run with them without necessarily questioning them. That's probably what we're going to be doing later on this morning. I believe every country culture thinks that they are somehow superior to others. I wonder, was watching a video about India and the 1.3 billion people of India who are set to become quite the economic force over the next 10 years. I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? Is what's going to happen in the world? Whilst we're navel gazing here, and we could understandably be described as doing that this morning. How does an ailing, you could say, an ailing civilization mindset, the Western civilization, how does it manage its transition to the next stage? You manage your transition, don't you? Or you just look the other way and see what happens, and then often walk into a lamppost. So let's have that conversation later on. But point taken, Coach Turner. Yeah, most people, I suppose, whether they voice it or not, I think most people do feel superior, don't they, to others in some ways. It's a little bit of a microcosm, macrocosm thing there, or is that just me? Western countries, however, have conquered much of the rest of the world in one way or another, and still believe they have some inalienable right to rule. Yes, that's the sort of thing we're talking about. James is in. Bom dia, Campos. Feliz sexta a todos. Como está? Tudo bem? Deagle's in too. How did Mrs. M your Mrs. M get on yesterday? Deagle, do let us know. Bon dia, Carl and Gumpers from a nippy -2 Belfast. Clear skies again. Cold, blue, sunny day. Rain Saturday and Sunday to warm us up. And that reminds me, we should perhaps have a little bit of a look at the weather for the weekend. We did actually yesterday, didn't we? We did look at whether the cold weather was set to continue, and it looks like it will. We can be a bit more specific about that if you'd like us to. What? From Andy, thank you for continuing to support the show as a GMP VIP. Andy Klein, thank you very much indeed. Does not go unnoticed. You're on the train to Porto to shop at IKEA. I'm a remote Gumper. Can we have a picture of you on the way to IKEA? IKEA is great in Porto. Really love that store. Of course, you have the restaurant there, and it's the IKEAs in Portugal are pretty cool, I would say, because you've got a reference to the Portuguese cuisine inside the restaurant, as well as all the IKEA classics that you would expect. They do this massive knuckle of meat, or they have done in the past, that I've eaten there with my eldest son, who really enjoyed that. So enjoy the restaurant too, Andy. And yeah, you can get a beer in there. So, yes, don't worry about that. 60 sleeps till I'm back in Portugal. Have a great day, Andy and Lola. 60 sleeps till I'm back in Portugal. Also 250 sleeps till our second trip in 2023. Well deserved as well, Deagle. Keep up that great work, and I hope you get what you need as National Health Service workers there in Belfast. I like the opening where the bell rang out. Who doesn't like a dong first thing in the morning, eh, nom de plume? And yes, and we'll see what we can do to get the whistle back into the show in some way. Looking forward to Les singing "Crown" by Stormzy, though probably there's a licensing issue. I mean, I think there's well, we'll see. We're seeing what happens there. Some of the oldies, I think, aren't they? If there's standards and so on, they might just get away with not having too many problems in that department, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, the more modern stuff, they're all over it. With their tracking software. And I think I'd love to see that as well. But we might have to get him to do that live an event maybe one day. Bon dia, says Bairandi. Looking forward to another fantastic day and weekend in a beautiful and bountiful Bairrada. And that's a nice turn of phrase, Bairandi. So let's have a look at a few of the events that you've got set up for us on the Gumper map. What is everyone doing this weekend? There's one. There's your Abobora festival, your pumpkin festival. Lift into your into your pumpkins, then head to the Portuguese capital of Sousa and enjoy a whole day indulging in your passion with like-minded pumpkin people. You may even bump into Portuguese Wurzel Gummidge and Aunt Sally. Book early, spaces go. Aunt Sally. Book early, spaces go quickenly. Yes, they do. Very good. Excellent stuff. Pumpkin Festival then as a possibility this weekend. Check all of these out on the Gumper map. The fantastic Bairrada Wine Museum in Anadina. Yes, been there, done that. I wouldn't mind going back. It's the biggest collection of corkscrews I've ever seen in my life. In Anadia, hosting a new art exhibition of Zé de Almeida, the poet of light and artistas português na tapaçaria de Porto Alegre, which will be available to the public until May the 31st. So an art exhibition, as well as the standing wine exhibition there. That well worth checking out, Anadia and Korea. Pop up to the Bairrada to see that. Radiolandia Museum. Didn't know there was one of these in Portugal until Andy told me about it. This is the Radio Museum of Portugal. 2 educational events at the super interesting and entertaining hidden gem, the Radio Museum in Bustos. See poster to subscribe. You can also visit the Radio Museum plus the Cultural Museum up the road in Troviscal for only €2.50 in the euros there. And kids under 12 are free. That's fantastic. That just sounds like something from the 70s. And children under 12 are free. It just sounds like something you'd be hearing on a Sunday afternoon as you gathered around the wireless. Here we are, keeping that feeling going here on the Good Morning Portugal show. Huge carnival in the north of Aveiro. This is one for Andy up there, Andy Klein. Check out the Pics links. Carnival, and this is in Ovar. What does that say there? Oh, it just says Carnival, all jumbled up there, and that is in Ovar. And that'll be from the 28th, tomorrow, in fact, and on till the 20th of March. Seriously, 20th of March? I don't know. Check it out for yourself. It looks like Daredevil on the screen there. But thank you. A little smattering of events there from Bairandi, who is looking forward to another fantastic day and weekend. He would be, wouldn't he, with all those wonderful events to go to in the Bairrada district. Thank you very much for shining a light and flying the flag for Bairrada. I think it's fair to say, isn't it, Andy? It is a little bit understated, undercelebrated as a part of Portugal. I always felt that when I lived there, and I really did enjoy living in that part of the country. Talking of industrial action, as we made reference to in Deagle's household, take a look at this, folks. This is at the school just down the road from me. And some good Portuguese here for you. But I did make mention yesterday, didn't I, of the politics of Portugal and how it is that if you're not keyed into the culture and the language, you might miss what people are talking about in the cafes. Here is what they're talking about in some parts of San Martinho de Porto and all over the country, of course, as teachers take industrial action. Quem ensina a vor na pode rastejar. And that is like one of our Portuguese sayings of the day, which we'll come to in just a moment, as well as a deep thought and a hugonunu. But this is something along the lines of if you teach someone to fly, they can't crawl. That's so Portuguese and so good, isn't it? And the teachers are the foundation, or schools are the foundation of the future. And luta, I forget what that is now. The teachers are taking action basically there, and they are saying that school is the foundation of the future, which in one way or another, of course, it is. That's what's going on outside. Oh yeah, luta is in a fight. The teachers are in a fight, and school is the foundation of the future. Send me any other political banners you see, and we'll decode them, and we'll begin to understand the culture a little bit deeper. The one that we live in here in Portugal. So I was going to thank whoever sent that in. That was me. Thank you, Carl, for that. Let's go back to Andy for just a moment, because here's another event. This just in, nice big print for the seniors. This is a seniors carnival. So fairly straightforward typography, as you'd hope for an event of this kind. Looks like a lot of fun, doesn't it? All the oldies dressing up for this. This is at Ceramica Rocha. This is on the 17th of February from 2 in the afternoon till 6, where they're treating all the oldies. It's an oldies carnival. No silly jokes, please. Actually, yes, silly jokes, please, about the seniors carnival. What is? Do you get to like a little Zimmer frame if you need it to trundle along in that carnival? They're not going to be breaking out into some full-on kind of samba band action there, are they, in capoeira? That could be dangerous. We need paramedics and Coach Turner and physiotherapists standing by at that particular carnival. That's indeed if it is a procession. Maybe they're just sitting around tables, drinking coffee and judging the rest of the world and looking back on their personal history. I don't know, but it looks like a great event. And I think Andy might be popping along to that as well. Tell us more, Andy, if you will. Okay, let us also just bring onto the screen now the deep thoughts and the Portuguese saying of the day and an ugo nuno. Let's do that, shall we? Let me cut and paste those. The deep thought of the day, again from Ursula K. Le Guin, is the only thing that makes life possible. Hold on a minute. I've just moved my mouse and lost it. Isn't that funny, talking about things permanent and then losing them immediately? The only thing that makes life possible is permanent, intolerable uncertainty, not knowing what comes next. Oh my word, that is pithy this morning, isn't it? And it's so true. It is true that the permanence of impermanence, if you like, there. Ursula K. Le Guin, you have been very good value. T-Duck then with wishing us an hola bon dia alegria in his absence. That's from Ursula K. Le Guin. The Portuguese saying of the day is to give credit where it's due. And let's bring that to you as a little bit of vocabulary as well. And that will be donra a quem a tem. There you go. That's going into the comment. Anyone cutting and pasting these into their vocabulary book and boosting up the amount of Portuguese words they know. Donra a quem a tem. It's got a nice ring to it, hasn't it? And then finally, for now, the ugo nuno, because I want to include a little meme that I've been meaning to include for a very long time now. Which to do with Bluetooth. It's quite random. I'm struggling to make it connect with Portugal. I'll tell you what, it's somebody who watches the show and loves Portugal. That's as good as we're going to get. Somewhat tenuous, but I'll come back to that. Ugo Nuno then, the city of Porto is best known for its river, the Douro. The Douro Valley could easily be called the Enchanted Valley, as it offers such beauty and magic through its beautiful landscapes. Now, it reminds me that over on the blog, oh, and thank you, Aviva, who's written a blog for us. That will be published later on today, or certainly over the weekend. Her first impressions of living in Madeira. And somebody else who I've just been in correspondence with, who's just got back from Madeira, called it paradise. People love Madeira. I can understand why from what they tell me and the pictures I see. And we've got a blog about first impressions of living and moving to Madeira going up on our Gumper blog. Also in the Gumper blog, some fabulous pictures from Martin and Jojo from their trip to the Douro Valley. Check it out at goodmorningportugal.com. But yeah, thank you for that, Ugo Nuno there. We will have dad jokes, of course, before we finish today with Frank this morning. Oh, yes, that Bluetooth thing then. Let me show you that. This was sent in to us some time ago, and I haven't had the right moment to share it, but I do now. Look at this. If you've ever wondered why the sign for Bluetooth is like that, it is because, allegedly, it turns out, and I can't even remember, did you send me this nom de plume? It turns out Bluetooth, or Bluetooth, if you're from Devon and other parts of England, is named after the 10th century Scandinavian king named Harald Bluetooth. There he is, a formidable-looking gentleman who peacefully united Norway and Denmark. And he brought together the Nordic H with the Nordic B for Harald Bluetooth. Do you think he had blue teeth? And that's what we ended up with there. So the uniting of Norway and Denmark, very thoughtfully used as a metaphor for the uniting of technological devices. Excellent stuff. Thank you very much for that. I think it was Nom de Plume who sent that in to me. And thank you, James, also for your visual dad joke meme this morning. We will sneak that in at some point too. And let's go back and see what people are saying in the comments this morning. Images of those bumper cars from the video shared here a while back in regard to the images from the Senior Festival. That was funny. That was a cruise, wasn't it? And we watched the bumper cars on the cruise liner going round at a very leisurely 2 miles per hour so as not to cause any damage to the bumper cars or the people in them. Smash them likes. I don't see that anyone has smashed a like yet this morning. So can we give it a concerted effort? I mean, we say this, don't we? Like, you know, how are you? And we may or may not, we may just say it as a kind of automatic thing. Do we really want to know how people are when we ask them that question? Do we really smash the likes then when someone says smash the likes? Could everybody do that? And let's see if we can do some damage to the internet this morning by all pressing the like button. Should we give it a countdown? Can you all get yourselves ready? And let's see what happens here. Oh, just give my eyes a little bit of a rub. They're a bit sore this morning. A late night watching with Mrs. M some back-to-back episodes of Lovesick. Brilliantly written British comedy, but stayed up a little bit too late watching that last night. So can you please get ready to smash your like button on whatever platform you're viewing on, and let's see if there's any discernible difference. Okay, so maybe fasten your safety belts. Don't do this if you're operating heavy machinery, and we'll count down from T-10 on this, and then smash the like button. So if you can make your way towards your like button now, that would be great. And in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit that smash that like button now. Do it. Nothing. Have I got a tumbleweed vingle for that moment? Nothing, you see? We say smash the like button, we smash the like button, and what happens? Oh, one. Thank you very much, Emma, for that. Everyone else is, oh, I can't be bothered. It's a bit like singing hymns at school, isn't it? Let everybody else smash the like button. I'll just sit here and do nothing this morning and let everyone else carry my weight. Thank you, Emma, for the one like. Not exactly a smash, more of a gentle stroking of the like button, I would think there. So we'll try that again another time. I don't think it does anything, but thank you very much for mentioning it, and thank you for trying, Emma, this morning. Coach Turner's weighing scales say hi this morning. Darth says hi. And Lagos. Just walked the dogs. Intensely blue sky here in Lagos. And I have from Shannon just recently a sunrise. Or was it? I think it's a sunset, actually. Yes. If it's out over the sea in Lagos, it's going to be a sunset, isn't it? There you go from Shannon just recently. Isn't that beautiful? Look at the color there. Ooh, very nice. And Carpe Diem Wayne has just been walking the dogs, and there's an intensely blue sky here in Lagos. That's fantastic. Enjoy your day down there in the south. I trust all is going well back at base where the house is being built, which you can find out more about also on a Gumper blog over at Good Morning Portugal. .com. I'm smashing. You are smashing, Emma. No question about that. Always think that when you join us here. Oh, just when I think about you, but certainly when you join us and sing here on the Good Morning Portugal show, always great fun. You are smashing, absolutely. And I smashed it, you see, but we have just that one like on the screen. I don't get it. Good morning, people. I'm going to say thank the heavens. It's Friday on your behalf there, Lee. Great Q&A earlier this week, and we'll have another one on Monday. The questions are coming in. Gotta go. Have a good show. Cheers, Andy. Have a great time at IKEA. Grab us a meatball. Enjoy the hospitality in a Portuguese IKEA, a uniquely Portuguese flavored IKEA there in Porto. Very good. Dougie Hughes is in. How are you feeling this morning? Eastern cultures have prejudicial opinions of the West. Yes, no question about that. Very interesting. You should say that. And that is this kind of whataboutism, isn't it? They do. Absolutely. You know, to be prejudiced is to be human, isn't it? And what isn't it interesting when we examine our prejudices? And that's exactly what Frank had me doing when he was pushing back a little bit, because with the World Cup, it was just like, yeah, Qatar, yeah, and I was in on it very early on, virtue signaling and slagging off FIFA and the World Cup and Qatar, like the best of them or the worst of them, you could say, and. Frank just said a few things. I thought, actually, yeah, that is just, I'm just saying that as a kind of knee-jerk thing. I haven't really thought that through. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be thinking it through this morning. What's this, Deagle? Holocaust Remembrance Day. We must learn. Is it today? I didn't know that. We must learn from past wars to live in a world of peace. Of course, governments must spend more on health, not war. That's so true as well. But, that said, let's have a look at who are these jokers who get us into wars. It would appear to be the governments. So maybe part of this transition of Western civilization will be not to be so reliant on the paternalistic force that is government, that we willingly and almost nonchalantly elect, that then does damage to us year after year after year. And I know you didn't all vote for this particular one you're suffering from, but it's probably not the best system. And I think we might be able to do better. Given that to the West, if you like, Western civilization, democracy, what was 2.0 going to look like of that? Because it's not working at the moment by anyone's standards. You can't say it's working right now, can you, with what's going on with Russia and Ukraine? And, long before that, wars have been raging. It seems to be something about the human nature, but it's certainly made worse by these things called governments, is it not? Who like to have people in positions of power who seem to be doing quite well on a personal level from stirring up all this conflict constantly. Anyway, I don't want to peak too early with that. We'll be back on that conversation from 9:30 after you've we don't want to welcome Frank into a heavy atmosphere, although he's known to lighten a mood. Frank will be joining us soon. Hiya, Gumper Sue's, where you been? Bought a bike, only $40. Put lights, lock, and saddlebags on for another $360. Such a deal, being facetious, but that can happen, can't it? That's the way to sell bikes and then sell all the accessories like they do in other industries, right? Make the basic thing, like the printer. Is a printer for $50. For the rest of your life, you're going to be investing thousands in printer cartridges, that sort of thing. A knuckle of meat. Yeah, great big one it was. And it was cooked so well, Andy, that the meat was falling off. And you can quaff a nice cold beer to go alongside it and have a Portuguese dessert alongside your Swedish lunch. If you want to increase resistance to those tricep dips, says James, don't care what he says his name is James, you can put a sack of potatoes on your chest. Once you're comfortable with that, add a potato. That does sound like one of those, fashion catwalk things, doesn't it? The old potato sack being worn rather proudly down the catwalk. Must try that next time. I'll put my next potato sack. I'm going to put it by and try it on as a kind of haute couture string vest. When you had the GMP whistle, I used to hear people whistling it around the country. Very catchy. That is amazing, isn't it? Okay, we'll see what we can do about that. Good morning, says Darren J. I head to Portugal today. Yes! Starting in Lisbon and Penella and Porto. Penella is such a great part of the country, Darren. Good place to go. So Lisbon, Penella and Porto. Watch out, Darren J is on his way. Going to see Sheffield Wednesday. Great news that, Darren. Play Fleetwood in the FA Cup. Then lunch at David Mellors in Hathersage. Is that still there? With Quincy Jonesy. Do give him my love, please. Hanging out with the Quincy Jonesy. David Mellors, how lovely. Creator of fine cutlery, silverware, of course, that Sheffield is famous for, and a nice little restaurant in the Derbyshire village of Hathersage, little town. It is actually Hathersage. What a lovely place. What a lovely name that is, Hathersage. And if you're American, you might look at that and go, Hathersage, but it is Hathersage. And Quincy Jonesy will be meeting with the great Brabazon there in Derbyshire this afternoon. Great stuff. Good luck, Sheffield Wednesday, the Blades. Or should I be supporting Fleetwood? Could there be a bit of giant killing going on there? Fleetwood in the FA Cup. What a fantastic atmosphere there will be there. On Sunday, that is. Okay, excellent stuff. Nice one. Bon dia. Hey, Moaz is back as well this morning. Frank is bringing people to the yard. Bon dia, Carl. Yatoros. And we've done the Ursula K. Le Guin this morning, haven't we? And I support extra pay. It says former Tory Doug Hughes. You heard it first here. But it must be understood that pay settlements stoke inflation. That's what they tell you, Doug. Again, within conventional thinking they do. But, I mean, for goodness sake, if we can create Bluetooth, I'm sure we can create something that's a little bit more elegant than these tired old economic, what are they, tropes. Like that, not attacking you particularly. And I do understand that. I do get it. But you'd think there might be alternatives, yeah? Before you know it, your extra pay is eaten up by price rises. Exactly, and that's the cycle they find themselves in, is it not? And it depends what you're basing. What's the founding principle? What's your intention here? If your intention is to punish the working classes, they're doing a pretty good job of that, aren't they? If your intention is fairness for all, you might approach it in a slightly different way. I don't know. Sounded like a doc there for a minute, didn't I? I had the same age as you, Carl, and the cheeky blighters at the council sent us an invitation to the OAP Carnival event. We accepted. Of course you did. Well, what is an old person then here in Portugal? And that's the interesting thing, isn't it? About, I mean, that's why we're having this conversation with Frank about the West and getting the West off our chest and checking out our prejudices, is because Portugal is fascinating how it sits in that wave of Westernism and wants to position itself as a kind of American dream country. I would say, wouldn't you? That's what Portugal endeavours to do, and maybe within that, it sees old people as anyone over 30 who might be able to take part in the heat of progress and technology. So and maybe anyone over 30 gets invited to that OAP event that Andy is going to. We want to see pictures there. And I did ask him if he was going to have a little stoop and, maybe borrow a Zimmer frame for that particular event to help himself fit in a little better. Nice hat, Frank. We'll bring him on in just a moment. From the Algarve, the bumper cars. Yeah, that was funny, wasn't it? And Oliveira de Bairro welcomes people of the world, which takes into account the reality of migrations being a council that welcomes people and families from more than 40 nationalities. That's excellent, isn't it? Oliveira de Bairro, well done. Hola! And you're just back in walking the dogs in the Lagos as well. Paul's here. Let's just see who's here before we go to Frank, who we've not said hello to so far. Greetings from the Algarve as well from Paul. Sunny, but we wake up thinking we are in the North Roll I think that's the North Pole in spring, isn't it? Unless it is the North Roll on spring. What is a North Roll on spring, I wonder? Catherine's here as well. How did you get on? How did you get on yesterday? Well, I hit the like button. Harumph. We do have 3 showing now, and not one of them is yours. Chris Wilson is, though. Nice one, Chris. Great to see you here on this occasion. And crickets. Yeah, that was it, wasn't it? We hit the like button, and it was just crickets. We do have that. This is what happens when you hit the like button. Really, we tested it scientifically this morning. Don't miss the 13 smashes prior to the great increase. I'm not seeing those. Maybe it's just because I can't see it that I'm complaining. And I've always thought that the wrong people are in charge of the world. That's the sort of thing we're talking about. I'm going to save these now because I think Frank needs to be in on this. Antonio F has joined us as well, as has Sarah Yeoman this morning. Let's give him a nice big round of applause and welcome him onto the screen. May I be the first to say how handsome you are looking this morning, Frank? Good morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You yourself, how is everything going over there in your neck of the woods?
I'm looking forward to our conversation. We have been
talking. You are?
Yeah, we've been talking a little bit already about getting the West off our chest. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. We've been talking about prejudice. We've been talking about exceptionalism. And we've been talking about how this is, general global stuff. Human beings are everywhere around this world with their same kind of human nature, albeit expressed through these different lenses, right? And the world seen through different lenses. And that's what we're going to hope to do today at 9:30. But before we get a bit too serious along those lines, a little bit of mirth, merriment, and malarkey. How's it looking in the Algarve, Frank?
Oh, it's as imagining. It's Algarve. It's sunny all the time. However, as I sent you a text yesterday, man, it's +4 or +3. It is chilly, and I don't know why this year, because this is my second winter here. I don't know why this year it feels tad colder. I was like last night. I was wearing 3 layers. I was walking around like an astronaut. It was like not cool, man. I was, and then I was thinking like I was gonna sit down and talk about this, and I always go rah 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 about Algarve, which is amazing. It's an amazing place to be. The only thing is that it is cold. However, it's sunny all the time. So what are you gonna do? You can't hate the sun.
No, that is. I was talking about this yesterday. There is something wonderful about the Portuguese blue sky, isn't there? So even when it's cold, and when that sun comes out, when the clouds clear, and you have a cold air, it's like you'll probably remember this from the UK. Those spring days or sometimes autumn days where the air is cold, but you can actually feel the sun's radiation on your bones and on your clothes.
But the UK sun as well. Like it's. I loved the sky over there and the weather over there as well. But it's good. The weather over there is good while you are in your 20s and your 30s and you're coming back and you're like during the day most of the time you don't either you're working or you're drunk, so it doesn't matter what you're up to. But I find You know, the two differences in the skies that I found just now when I was in the Middle East, like, you know, in place like Dubai, let's say, every day it is sunny as well. But you're right. It's like this is a different. It's like somebody has gone with watercolor and put like the beautiful shade of blue on the Portuguese sky. I did not see this kind of sky over there. So.
It's very special. It must be
it's
to
very
do with
special.
it must be to do with the water, must it, and our unique position on the globe. So excellent. And have the Algarve Tourist Board done a bit of product placement and put a fan behind you? Most people have got a dehumidifier behind them at the moment, Frank. Are you
Are
you rubbing it in again? We've got a fan here ready for the sun.
They did. They specifically asked me, not the Algarve, the Portimao Tourist Board. They said, you know what, put one of those in the back there, Frank. You're like really like, you know, we need to bring people over here,
right?
Like all year round.
Very suggestive that fan behind you. Your biggest fan currently. So good morning to Sarah.
Absolutely. You're on a roll this morning.
I am. I'm doing my best. I'll be here all week, literally. Carl, a full life in Belfast is 82 years of age. So 84 is 100%. Then 42 years is 50% of your life. 63 years, 75%. What have most people done with their lives at 50%, 42 years old? I enjoy each day. Well, that's a good carpe diem reminder to us all, isn't it?
Dihal, a lot of thought went into that. Thank you very much. It's very early in the morning for that kind of thought, but it's great. It's very heavy. I'm going to think about it.
And maths as well. A lot of maths.
A lot of math. What are you doing? What time do you wake up to think of stuff like this, Dihal?
He might have been on nights. He might have been on nights.
Take a shot first thing in the morning? Wow.
What exactly? What I meant was, it is so sad in this day and age that response to racism still needs explaining in the US. You might have to unpack that a bit further, but let's not get too dark on this morning. You know, it's a serious conversation, a serious subject. Yes. What we're hoping to do this morning, how do you see this, Frank? I think what we're hoping to do is maybe unsee some set ways of seeing, perhaps, or see things from a new angle, or get in there close up and personal with the nuance of these discussions and re-examine some of our prejudices, because we all have them. Were you thinking along those lines?
Along those lines, and the conversations that we had because of our unique position, because of our unique backgrounds. You always, I believe that to move forward, and it's just my opinion. Of course, this is not a GMP opinion. Oh
dear. What's he gonna say?
No, I'm not gonna do any of that. I feel that there needs to be a connection in order for us to move forward. We need to learn from our past, and not just from our Roman and Greek past. We need to learn from the past that has been hidden from us in high schools, in schools, what we have not been taught. And this is something that we need to go back to and reach. We need to read more about our histories. I think this entire thing of it's not a new concept, obviously, racism, but looking back and seeing how other societies deal with racism would be very, very helpful. Along with like, we call ourselves very liberal societies. However, we're not. We're some of the most restrictive societies. The races that move over here, the immigrants that move to Western countries, they don't feel comfortable. Yesterday, I was reading this news about what's going on with the Swedish government and how they have, it's basically gone the other way around. How we go and turn the switch around, the other way around, and become something completely different, and how we take a few members of the society and completely isolate them. And when they get angry and they fight back, we go, oh, look at him, he's fighting.
Yes, I think we understand the concept you're talking about there. And of course, in the age of the culture war, these images are used to destabilize things, I think, as well. Now, that's not to say that these aren't horrible things that happen sometimes as well, though, because it needs to be seen in the broadest context, doesn't it, and picture with this. So we'll talk more about that. You may be stimulated by what Frank just said there. And when he talks about our backgrounds, so for for a bit more context there, I am half, although I look like a full-on gammony British bloke, I am half Asian, and my mother was adopted, and not entirely sure of her sort of lineage, if you like, and ancestry. But I think I am part Malay, so half Irish, half the great partnership possibly that built the railroads of the United States. Half kind of Asian and half Irish. What a brilliant combination that is! It's literally a world-changing combo. What about you, Frank?
Half. My mother's from Iran. My father's from Pakistan, and I was brought up in Canada.
Amazing. And then you moved to London.
And then I moved to London.
You're a proper global geezer.
And then I moved to Portugal. So to really mess things up properly.
That's right. Here we are, both of us in Portugal as expats, moaning about things in a real proper expatty way. Fantastic. Here we are. Join us this morning. Look, there's a Doug alert. Dougie Hughes is down the road from you, currently in Silvish as well.
Dougie with his beautiful, colorful coats going around with his gas guzzlers around Algarve.
Gas guzzler and a bright coloured blazer.
The man is elegant. You can't every day he looks like he's just coming off the golf course.
Yes, so I hope you're feeling better, Doug. Watch out, Algarve. I think he is feeling better. Pay rises without also increasing inflation would require lowering profits. But would it? This is another one of these things we're taught, and it may stack up within traditional economic theory. But is that necessarily the case? Is that another thing where we can recheck our calculations and see if there's a different way of doing this? It is a frosty morning in Silvish as well. I think you're talking about the weather rather than the reception you've had from the waitress you've been speaking to this morning. Although that might be true as well, Doug. Moaz agrees.
I figure that with Doug, I can see that happening.
Good morning, my dear. How are you? I agree with Carl. Looks handsome today. And you too, Carlos. Oh, thank you so much. Moaz, liking the cut of our jib this morning. Not terribly optimistic that huge private corporations will agree with reducing their huge profits for the sake of the lowly underclass. We fear this might be true as well. You're at 16 likes on YouTube. Watch out, YouTube. And Pete is here as well. Bon dia, Agria. Where's the flat cap gone, Frank? As nice as that one is, it reminds me of a supermarket meat counter one. He's in with the banter. Is a quick early jab from.
Who's this clown?
This is Pete.
Oh, Pete! Hey, of course, it's Pete. I love Pete.
All right. I'm a fan of Frank. There you go. Two fans here this morning, the one behind Frank and the one looking at you from Belfast this morning. The summers in Dubai are awful, but this is my first winter and the weather is gorgeous these days.
Absolutely.
Similar to Phoenix winters, says Moaz. Great to have you here again this morning, Moaz. How cool is it that they found a gold-covered, perfectly intact mummy in Cairo? Apparently, you're not meant to say mummy anymore. I think it's a mummified human being, isn't it, rather than a mummy? I think that has.
Can we continue calling it mummy just for the sake of this show, please?
That doesn't surprise me that you might want to do that.
Yep.
4,500 years old, may I say, my dear? You look
Absolutely.
very good considering.
Thank you.
Behind a secret
nice one, Pete.
door.
I expect that from you.
Makes you feel all Indiana Jonesy. Yes.
Yeah. I've got something that we'll probably talk about later, which will make it a bit Indiana Jonesy, and which will kind of reference.
You've got a whip.
reference.
You brought a whip with you. No.
Reference. Oh yeah. It's that kind of show today. When we talk about mummies and statues and stuff like that, I've got some stuff that I wanted to share with you. I was actually going to send it to you last night, but I thought it'd be better. We just
surprise
you. Surprise you. You know what? On the other subject of inflation and what's going on in our society, I kind of find, and we might get into this a bit later. Don't you kind of think that when we come into these countries, and by we, what I mean is like Westerners, when we come to Southern Europe, we kind of find that, the same traditions that we had as far as charity, as far as being a good, solid member of the society, we continue with the same stuff twice a year. We believe in doing like charities for that particular week, feel good about it, and then the heck with the society. I'm going to keep on going to my expensive grocery stores and buying the expensive dill or expensive coentro that I'm going to buy. I was talking to somebody at the Mercado Municipal the other day, and in my broken Portuguese, and the lady actually had a very good point. She goes, "You guys come over here, and you guys like doing, like, you know, those." She was talking about the casa para, or the box, the shoe boxes. You know, the shoe boxes where like everybody goes and collects, like, let's say, stuff for the needy and stuff for the homeless, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. It works very, very well back home. But the thing is, the lady was saying, we don't want charity. As far as we are concerned, we're working people, we're very proud people. As a matter of fact, what we want is if people would come to this farmer's market 2 or 3 times a week, we would want that. We want this. We don't want that kind of charity thing twice a week. We want you involved in the society. We want you involved in the culture. And this is something as foreigners that a lot of foreigners don't do. When I go to the Mercado Municipal, and same thing with your Mercado Municipal, you don't see many people going in there, going to that old lady that you were hiding from, the fish lady, remember? She was so beautiful. She saw you from far. It was like, she was like going to give you, I don't know what she was going to do with you. She was going to physically molest you or something. She was like really looking forward to your visit. And this is what I'm talking about. Participating in cultures instead of doing these little charities, making us feel good about ourselves, instead of going out there and participating in society and spending your well-earned euros within this society, purchasing goods that are fresh, good for you, instead of going to big-ass grocery stores.
Big-ass grocery store. Okay. Now, this is really interesting because I was at a charity fundraiser event earlier this week. And often these conversations can look like it's either or, right? And it was exactly how you've described it. The gathering of expats raised money for a soup kitchen, and felt very good about doing that, and rightly so. It is better that people are fed than not. And I think also what you're pointing to is like, why the hell have we got bloody soup kitchens in this day and age? And why it's like it's a class system. It looks like a class system, doesn't it? Is that we're not changing anything particularly with our influence and our power and our money. We are almost investing in the status quo, if you like, and that's not in any way to demean, undermine, or put down people's charity fundraising efforts, because thank God they do that. I'm sure it's very timely and important to people in an emergency. But that's the emergency, isn't it? That's the acute situation. What are we doing about the chronic situation, I suppose, is the other part of this, which may, of course, feed into the bigger picture we're talking about of political systems and our socio-economic and philosophical view of the world as well, right?
Because we can do something about these situations. Like there was the system of paying it forward. I think it's there in some of the Southern European countries where, like, let's say you go to a Dashka or you go to a pasteleria and you go and buy your like, let's say, your coffee and whatever, and then you pay a little bit extra. And there are people, like, let's say, homeless folks who can go in there in a cold day like this. They can go in there, and all they have to do is just ask for a coffee or whatever, and the person won't ask them for any money. They will, just because you have been kind enough to do that, they will just pay it forward and buy them the pastel de nata or the coffee to make them feel. This is the kind of charity. First of all, you're right. We should not have. In this day and age, we should not have homeless people in our societies. But this is what I mean by charity. It's everyday charity. It's not even charity. We should not even call charity. It's called being human, right? Yes. So the thing is, every day, do these small deeds where you can help your fellow person that you're seeing. You see someone in every small town over here. You know this homeless person walking around. Bring them in one day, buy them a soup, do something nice for them, and whatever, and do it with a good heart, which I know you will. We come in with the right intentions, I believe. I think the problem is that we want to do the same old, same old. This is what we've been taught. This is what we do. We do our 2 charities per year. Wear nice clothing, make a gala of it, raise this much money, give the money, and then we can bugger off to our lives. and we come back to it next year again. And then these nice ladies plan it for 6 months. This is their activity. Instead of that, I think what we should be doing is every day.
It does become a thing, doesn't it? And that we
Yeah.
as human beings have a habit of making things out of things, don't we? And then they become conceptualized, and then they become the norm. I suppose that's what we're talking about here, is partly, isn't it, this morning? If moving to the West is so rubbish, why do so many people aspire to come? The West must be perceived as being a better alternative to where people come from. There's something to go out there, isn't there?
Yeah, but Doug, that's your perspective, right? And you're obviously welcome to it. The problem is, it's no one saying that the West is so rubbish. I believe that we have to learn from our past, and our past does include the East. I don't know if you've looked at the map lately, but after you pass by Europe, there are other places. Do you know what I mean? So there are other places which we need to learn from. The world does not end at Greece and the old Roman Empire. There are other empires as well that we need to learn from, and other cultures that we need to learn from. What we're talking about is integrating. We're not pointing fingers towards anyone. We're talking about integrating.
Yes.
How's your second beer coming along, Doug?
Dougie, keep those comments coming.
Come on, bring it, Doug.
It is interesting, isn't it? And that is something to do with, I think, the America's very good at this, isn't it? Is the American dream, and the marketing of the American dream causes people to want to be part of that, and they go and they may be able to go, and they may be able to take their chances with that. Whilst I was reading that, I was just thinking, I've left the UK to better my chances. I'm an economic migrant, basically, coming to Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm certainly not a breadline and desperate asylum seeker or somebody who's really, completely taking a huge risk, and their life is horribly damaged where they've come from. So they're putting everything on moving to a new country. And I'm not at the other end of the spectrum either, where I've got a massive amount of wealth that I'm investing in a new country in order to experience a better quality of life. It's somewhere in the middle, white collar economic migrant, if you like, to better our chances here in Portugal. And it's so interesting to see that the people you're talking about here, or the phenomenon you describe, where people might be wanting to the UK, wanting to move to the UK. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking to myself, I don't know why they would want to do that anymore. They may be working on an old perception of what it is to move to the UK to better their chances.
Well, I say the same thing about Canada as well. When I was there last summer, it's impossible for a pensioner. Well, my mom happens to be a pensioner. It's impossible for a pensioner to live a decent life. You see all these old ladies in pet food aisles. What do you think? They don't even have pets. What do you think they're doing? It's getting to be sad. It's been reported in the news that this is what some of the old ladies are doing over there. This is what some of the old folk are being forced to do. I'm quite sure it's happening all over the world. What are we what Doug is talking about is like, it's something to aspire to. Is this what you aspire to? Is this what you aspire your mom to do? No, you don't. We can't be in this situation where we say, all right, we're the best, and anyone who comes over here puts up with this. We can have a slice of bread we sell for like €3 or £3 and whatever, and we can do whatever we want because this is what the price you pay for liberty and freedom. Yeah. Thank you, George Bush.
Yes. Okay, some great comments. Thank you, everybody, for these. It was a real eye-opener, says by Andy, even moving to Portugal, the difference in perspective on the news from the UK. All humans are similar by 99.9% in common, yet to this day, that 0.1% causes problems. And I think that's true. That's true on a individual and global sort of societal level, isn't it? Because whilst we're pointing fingers at those other humans that seem to be the problem, we have that in us as well, don't we? And we need to manage that, I think, as well. I would say I have my own 0.1% that is a real pain that causes me to do stupid things and think stupid things from time to time. Actually, quite a lot of the time, probably.
We all do. When you and I get together, that 0.1 becomes 0.5.
My mum warned me about hanging out with
Yes!
as I'm sure your mum did, warn you about hanging out with people like me. But
Exactly.
it didn't stop us, clearly, Frank. I could see the Asian in you, Carl. It gives you a unique, exotic look. Well,
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you very much.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of exotic look going on the screen this morning on the Good Morning Portugal show, where we're getting the West off our chest and shaking down our prejudices, owning our prejudices collectively, and seeing what else might be possible. Because this is about vision. It's not a witch hunt about who's right or wrong here. It's like, what else is possible beyond how we've currently got our possibly too closely guarded and unchecked view of the world.
Because we're locked up in the same room. We're banging our head against the same wall over and over again. We need to expand our horizons. We need to look outside a bit. We need to. There are societies out there that are willing to help. There are societies out there that are willing to cooperate. This is what we need to do. Governments have failed us. Politicians have failed us. They've been failing us for the longest time. Who do we need to look at? We need to look at each other, and we need to become better humans. It is in their favor to keep us separated, keep us away from one another. It is good for business, but it is not good for us as human beings. These things, when people become like rah rah rah, I'm an Englishman, or I'm an American. How about being a citizen of the world? I think that's a good option.
Yes, and then examining what that might mean
after
you've been called John Lennon or whatever stereotype people would lump you in with saying something like that.
Oh, that's a compliment. Beautiful compliment.
It's an absolutely glorious day today. And after discovering a cliff on the land, look at this, he's found a cliff on his land, obscured by brush yesterday. It sounds like he's gone from the 70s into the current time with pubic hair, doesn't it? It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. He's Brazilianed his land to find a cliff waiting for. Talk about Indiana Jones and our own mysterious.
Is it a cliff or is it a strip?
I think for more finds of antiquity today, there might be a tribe living there, mightn't there? And Pete might discover some neighbors hidden in there who've been there for decades. Beyond Greek and Roman history, so like Chinese, Aztec, Incan, Mayan, Egyptian, Indian, and the like, then yeah, why not?
Yes, Ottoman, Persian, yes, all of them.
Yes, all of the above. Okay, thanks, James, for that. Can't say mummy. I knew somebody might bite with that. I don't personally. I don't mind whether you say mummy or not say mummy. But I do find it fascinating, mummy. Mummy, I do find. Oh no, that takes us into a whole new area.
No.
Don't go there. You can't say that anymore. It's the conversation, isn't it? You know what? Why can't you say mummy? What? And this is where, oh man,
who decided? Carlito, who decided? Explain this to me. Who decides what is right or what is wrong? Why are we allowing these people to decide these things for us?
What do you mean,
the terminologies like, toxic masculinity. Well, there's toxic femininity as well. So
that doesn't mean there's not toxic masculinity just because there's toxic femininity, though.
Exactly, both exist.
Well, thank you for introducing me to. Just for a moment, time out. Thank you for introducing me to alpha males. We concluded on that series last night.
Yes.
Pretty good ending, I thought. And there's scope for another series in there, isn't there? But an excellent discussion.
You had quite a few alpha males in there. Okay.
Well, where in our audience here or on that show?
On that show.
They were. It was very interesting, wasn't it? How it ended up. It was almost like a classic Netflix ending, wasn't it? That obviously the alpha males couldn't win out in the end. That seemed like a little bit of a Netflix.
Bad guy can't win.
Yeah, but fascinating nonetheless. So Alpha Males on Netflix, if you want to check that out, and a Spanish production looking at toxic masculinity.
Isn't that an amazing show? I started watching that show, and I was just as soon as I watched that show, I thought of you. I was just like, really? I gotta send this. Yes, no. I was watching because we've had these conversations, right? Like men's role in society and stuff like that. So I was just like, you've got to watch this show. You've really, really got to get into this. And I knew you'd get into it.
I did. We really enjoyed it. Mrs. M
Did Mrs.
especially,
M get into it?
and very, very funny as well at times too. As when you can almost see some of the jokes developing, and they pay off just as you would hope they would. Very good. Yeah, Alpha Males on Netflix. Now, the thing about what you can and can't say is it gets turned in. And I fell into the trap myself. You can say what you like, but it might be that you have to face some consequences and be in a conversation with people. I don't see the problem with that. And what I'm interested in is for the people who supposedly say to you or me, you can't say that. The interesting thing is why is that? What do you mean?
Who
I might
decided?
learn, it might be that I learn something by
Yes.
hearing what's behind that rather than just getting angry because I've been told I can't say something. And that's what's going on, isn't it, in our culture? It's like people go straight to the you can't say that rather than why is that this person suggesting I don't say that, which is a little bit more
Well,
sensitive.
first, instead of shooting first, like give an explanation. Why are you saying that? Why are you break it down for me? Like
Yeah.
unpack this for me. Why do you think this is a bad idea? And if we can sit down, we can decide that this is a bad idea. We're not being respectful.
Yes.
Then yes, but if we're not being, if it's just your opinion that on your side you believe that this is really really hurting me, then you gotta wear big boy pants at some point in life. Like things will happen.
Yes. Yeah. And on it goes, right? On it goes.
Yeah.
And within these respectful realms.
Oh, big girl pants. I'm sorry.
It's a minefield.
Or big girl skirt. I don't know. I'm getting in trouble over here.
You're in so much trouble already, I suspect. So are you being PC now, Carl?
No, never.
Actually, more mischievous than PC. Actually, if somebody's, I imagine one or two of you saw straight through that, me introducing the idea of you can't say something. I think it's fascinating personally, and I actually don't know why you can't say mummy, but I did hear that recently because yes, I think to do with this news that Pete's talking about, they are reframing, and you could say, if it's the British Museum, they're taking the heat out of a different conversation, which is give people their stuff back. It's not
that
about
you stole many years ago.
Yeah, look over here. You can't say mummy, rather than what are we going to do about those Elgin marbles? Okay, and you may have a view on that here as well. By the way, Africans for the most part are 100% human. The rest of us have varying 1 to 3% Neanderthal. Thank you for that. You know who you are.
You should come and see. You should come and see Carlito and I on a Friday evening. That scale of 1 to 3% will probably go much higher.
Yes, thank you for that. And I was just saying, you know who you are, but that's the problem, isn't it? They probably don't know who they are, given their Neanderthal perspective on life. Sarcophagus is a little bit of a spelling ask at this time of the morning, but you did very well there. I've submitted an article about homelessness for Portugal News. I think you'll appreciate the sentiments when it comes out. I'm sure we will. Doug, good work. Thank you for that. And do make sure it comes this way if you will. I've got one of those old Mercado ladies. Everybody should have an old Mercado lady, or gentleman. Although I do say hello and actually purchase the fruit from her stand. I think it's sweet, the relationship. We always smile and greet each
Isn't
other.
it? That's amazing.
Superb.
It is. It's a beautiful relationship that we can start with someone like you have started. Like you, that fish lady won't leave you alone, Carl.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. It is quite awkward going in there, and it's because she did an amazing number on me the first time we encountered each other.
Can I just take a minute to explain to the crowd what I saw that day? Well,
Yeah.
Carl Munson, my friend Carl Munson over here, he's a celebrity wherever he goes, right? So, and especially at this particular Mercado, when I went with him, the lady was talking to someone. She was like having a very intense conversation, and from the corner of her eye, she sees Carl, and that's it. The conversation is done. She starts waving, and she starts like, "Please come and see." That was beautiful to watch. And Carl, in his celebrity style, was like, "All right, you know what? I don't have time for you right now. Like, stop with the pictures. I'll come back later and see you."
I think I hugged her, didn't I? And I did have to give her a
I'm just kidding. You were very good. You were very good.
It's a good mummy comments. Mummies unite. No more mummies. We are ancient humans. You mean dead, dry, and dusty corpses? I think mummy's nicer than that, isn't it? Oh, and sexist comments, unconscious sexism going on that's being admitted to. Well done, Nom de Plume. We'll come back to that. I just want to clear this up with the fish lady, though, first of all. I went in there one. I might, and it might have been that I was a little bit worse for wear one Saturday morning at the local market. And there are two fish ladies, and there's not much love lost between the pair of them, and they almost, the kind of fishwife stereotype. You can see it there at San Martino de Porto market, at the municipal market, and there's normally a big queue on one of them. And she is the main lady there, and she kind of runs things, as it were. It's her domain. And then there's I think some other ladies who come who are on the periphery from Nazaré, who sell fish as well. And I happened to go to this lady from Nazaré who Frank's talking about. And before I knew it, I've got to share with you. I call her the fish witch, and not in any bad way. I don't mean it badly. It's because she does spells. Because there I was, and before I knew it, she'd gutted 2 dorada or sea bass or something, and said, "That'll be 20 euros, please." And they were in the bag, and I was holding the bag, and she was asking me for the money. And I don't know what happened between entering the market and having 2 gutted fish and being 20 euros worse off. Something happened there, and so I'm quite wary. And so when she sees me, she runs over towards me and grabs me and leads me towards her fish counter, and that's why it's a little.
Here's the thing, you know that fish like you bought right there. As a matter of fact, she's actually not expecting you to pay everything right then. There are people who go over there. Oh, troca no. I've actually seen people do this. We're like, oh, no way, todo dinero aquí, and whatever. The lady will be like, you know what? Whatever you've got, give it to me today. Come back tomorrow and give me the rest. I'm over here all the time. Yes. This is what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Talking of these ladies in the supermarket, then not the supermarket, not the big ass stores that Frank referred to, in the municipal mercado. Same with the couple that sell their vegetation. I love it. Great to have those relationships. Isn't that a wonderful thing? The American dream is mostly a dream. Some say a nightmare for some as well, of course. And this is not to blame anyone either. This is a propaganda PR thing that's been going for decades, isn't it? And we want it. On some level, us human beings want that. We want that dream, and we need a vision, and we want something to live into, right? So of course it's been successful.
Why can't we start our own propaganda? Propaganda of being good humans. Propaganda, or of like, if you want to call it propaganda, let's just call it that, and let's go with it. If they can do that, we can as well. Right here.
It's called kindness and generosity in any way you are able. You will have noticed that the biggest phone-in has started. We got a bit distracted there talking about mummies and fish ladies. If you want to call in and join this conversation, you can do that on 00351 913 590303. It is called kindness and generosity in any way you are able. Absolutely. And we are all in some way able, are we not? The American dream. The YouTube, Kensington Avenue, Philadelphia, there's something to aspire to. So I don't quite know what that is, but I think not the American dream, perhaps there.
What they're saying is very likely a street has been named after YouTube.
Oh, okay. Really?
This is where we're going. Oh, this is what's happening. Like when our stadiums started getting named after cell phone companies and big corporations, sooner or later our municipalities, well, not over here, but sooner or later our municipalities in North America and Northern Europe will start selling the street names. And instead of it being a famous engineer or a famous a person who did something for society, it'll be a corporation. It'll be a Nestle Avenue very soon.
Yes, if there isn't one already, and they're all their corporate and social responsibility nonsense. So yes, giving with one hand whilst taking with several others, you might say. That sounds absolutely lovely. James says, Pete, our local market is just wonderful, and we have a natter with at least 6 people every week in Portuguese. Great work, Pete. Something to look forward to, and amazing produce as well. Amelie's here as well. Good morning. How are you? Hola todos. Tudo bem?
Emily.
Muito bem, obrigado, Amelie.
Muito bem, obrigado.
You'll have something to say on this conversation. How are you dealing with our cold? Antonio F is asking you. Yes, a bit chilly, but just wait until lunchtime and you'll feel the sun on your back, hopefully in some parts of Portugal today. I went through a lot of paperwork moving to Finland with a grandmother making it easier. Yet even more paperwork was required after I got there. Haven't been here much lately. Can I all again? I'm not sure what you mean.
Call again. I think she's saying, can I call again?
Absolutely. Do call in, Suze, if you'd like to. 913-590-303. Most easy. Sorry, I've just seen another comment. The easiest way is via WhatsApp. Portuglish. It is a proper cliff. We can put a zip wire up. Yes. And a viewing platform. We found about 200 bottles from the hunters and a machine I can't figure out. Wow.
Wow.
Hunter bottles. Be careful. Put gloves on moving old bottles with yellow liquid in around the
You think
place.
there's a message in there?
Could be, couldn't there? Could be some old messages or hieroglyphics or something like that. And a machine he can't figure out yet. Let Portuglish have a look at that. He's an engineer. He might know what it is.
Yes.
You have to say bollocks. I thought you were accusing me of talking bollocks. And, you know, fair enough. Everyone's entitled to their opinion and to share it here, especially this morning. But you have to say bollocks. I think he is... And I've got a little bit. It is again. Talking of ancestry, my father was known as Mr. Bollocks in the town that he lived in.
Oh, nice.
Because when he got to a certain age, would be his response to some conversation. When he got tired of talking to somebody, or they were
bollocks.
Yeah, he would just say, "Oh, bollocks," and walk away. I don't know if that's a British thing, or I don't know if it's particularly bad, isn't it? Now I don't recommend that. I think you've kind of lost. If you're the person just muttering bollocks under your breath and walking away, that's a letdown, I think. Anyway, fair point. Can I do it all again? Ring my phone, not Frank's, if you want to be on the phone in this morning. Can I do it all again? Oh, I see. Can I do it all again? Moving not to Finland but to Portugal this time. Still here, but feeling challenged. Still think Portugal is ideal, just not easy. Well, we send our love and best wishes and strength to you, and a bit of gumper dust as well. Yes. My language is my own. Oh, he won't be told what to say. He won't.
Oh,
but
nice.
I mean, you've been in the world of students, where students are accused of being woke, and I mean, I don't get so mad about that as I see a lot of people do. Of course, students see things in a different way and upset their elders. That's their job in many ways, isn't it?
Do you think wokeism is a phase?
I think it's become a thing. That's you know, what is the usual churn of communication and differences between generations has now been made into another thing, which is a culture war, if you like, a culture war armament. So where polarity and division can be sown by ideology, woke is one of them. And it's not necessarily the people who are supposedly being woke. It's the idea of woke being whipped up into a weapon by certain people and, you know, media outlets. Of course, young people are supposed to be a pain in the bottom to the older generation and have ideas that are upsetting, right? Weren't you? I wasn't. I was scared to in many ways because of the parenting I've described and you know about, Frank. But still, underneath it all, that I did hope to be different and distinguish myself from the older generation, and that's now called wokeism. But it's been turned into another thing, I think. And I think
there is every generation has had their thing. Like it's called woke now. Every generation has had their bit of woke. This one has gone a little bit further because just like I remember a few days back, you had this. I think you were doing this show. It's like, why are all these people dying? Why are we like seeing like one after another? It's because I actually wanted to phone in and I wanted to say that people are dying. It's not because it's the first time in history people have started dying. It's because now it's getting reported more, and it's also part of the propaganda. It's also part of getting people paranoid that look at all these people, what they're dying. I know of so many people who, as soon as they see a celebrity dying, which I guess is happening more because they're reporting all the time, then the person goes and looks at, this is the reason why that person died, and then they go and Google, do I have it?
Yeah. No, none of us want to be in that condition. Think about it. If that's you, something terrible has occurred, and you have become you have co-opted your consciousness into somebody else's horrible ideology. And that
like everyone's time is going to come. Why are you making your time come any faster? The only thing that you have to do is look at it and be like, oh, it's so sad this human being died, and just move along. But people get paranoid. The majority of our population gets paranoid, and this is a money spinner as well. Because right after that, what are they going to do?
Well said. Totally agree with you there. You know, if it ain't one thing, it's another. If it's not woke, it's the things that are called conspiracy theories. If it's not conspiracy theories, it's climate change. Everything is being weaponized into a way of taking us out of our. And I know you're very good at this, Frank. All of these things are kind of weapons in the war for our consciousness, aren't they?
Yes.
Now, whilst you can get into them, and we know people in our community do, and go into deep rabbit holes with these things, I think the objective here is to not get taken into any rabbit hole at all, however worthy, smart, or brilliant you think it is. The important thing is to stay in the moment and to stay happy. And so many of these things seem to exist now as a way of dragging your consciousness away from you and the enjoyment of your life into something horrible. And it's like the Matrix, isn't it? It's very entertaining, very alluring. And there are so many temptations, more temptations than ever, possibly, to give you.
And for us who are here in Portugal, just look outside your window, look at the sky, look at the sunshine. And it's not a cliche thing. It's like there's so many amazing things you could be doing with yourself instead of sitting right in front of that pewter and going around and trying to find out why this celebrity died of this and do I have it or something silly like that.
There's someone who's doing that.
I've actually had friends who just like, do you do this? And I go, no, you're a special nutter. We know that.
You can't say that.
Yes, you can't say that.
Right, okay.
And he actually said that to me. He goes, you know what? Now that you may have pushed me over the cliff. And I go, have I? And then he goes, no. And I go, well, why are you saying it then?
Yeah. I can see that conversation. It would be almost as good storyline as alpha males. To paraphrase Carl Sagan, we're all connected. We're all made of star stuff. Like I'm feeling that this morning. Thank you very much. So what if you offend someone at some time? He's quite unrepentant this morning, isn't he? Well, you might want to have a conversation and clean it up. You might not, but you might learn something as well. That's the other side of this. If you're offending someone, you could find out why as well, or you could just take that harumphy thing. That's also another option.
One thing that has happened is I think we've become bad negotiators in our society. I think this is one thing that is lacking. What we cannot do is in any conversation, what we don't have any room for is someone going against your view. So we don't sit down with the other person and go, you know what? You do have a point. I might not agree with it, but you do have a point. Have a drink with that person, and you can still be amazing friends with that person. And have this thing of being able to negotiate your point against the other individual's point, and it's another human being. We've stopped doing that. What we've become is, this is me. This is where I stand. This is where I will continue to stand. That's you. You will continue to stand over there, and there is nothing between us.
And who loses out in that? I think we do.
We lose.
We lose by not extending our.
We're being taught this. We're being taught this in our elementary schools, in our primary schools. We're being taught this in our schoolyards. We are being. One of the things that I'm sorry, I know you want to read this comment, but one thing that I thought of the other day, we were talking about the East and West. In the East, in Middle Eastern countries, whenever somebody enters a room, as soon as they come into the room, they say salam, which is basically a greeting. Hello, how are you? Whatever. Doesn't matter if they know anybody in the room. They enter the room and they say salam to the entire room, which basically peace be upon you. And
yes.
They just come into the room and the other people say salam back. They don't know you, right? I have noticed in Portugal this happens at the gym. Like usually gym lockers where men's changing rooms where men just walk into the changing room and quietly go about their business and just do their thing and just bugger off. I see Portuguese, and this is just the Portuguese, of course, coming into the change room and the person says, "Hola, bom dia," and the person just says he doesn't want to have a conversation. He's just said salam to you in his way, and he's entered, and everybody turns around butt naked and turns around and says, "Oh, how you doing?"
Yes.
And they don't even know the person. Then everybody turns around and does that. This is culturally, and this to me, to some extent, is I think the influence of the East in the West, and this is a beautiful influence, whereby there are these small customs, there are these small ideas where you are not, when you go into a situation, you're not an individual, you're part of a community, you're sending peace and love to one another. I think this is what the East brings into the West. And I think this is why we need to communicate with one another.
Well said. I have observed that phenomenon here in Portugal, the Bom Dia, you know, and I do it. And it's funny because I've noticed this at my meetup. Yeah, I say Bom Dia, boa tarde, you know, to the
You do. I've seen you do that.
the old guys at the cafe. And people who come to the meetup or who are new in Portugal think I know everyone because I do that. I don't do it because I know them. I do it because it's the thing that's done here, and it feels good to do it.
It feels amazing.
And you've almost as well, you've set out your helpers, you know, in a hostage situation or a conflict situation, and you look around, don't you, to see whose eyeballs are with you. You know, and not that I've been in many hostages. I've seen that in the movies, but when I've been in like a situation on a night bus, and it's kicking off on a night bus, you look around, don't you, to see who might be with you and an ally in a difficult situation. It's human nature, isn't it? And I think we do that socially in Portugal, don't we? Not in a conflict situation, but as you go into an area, the men's changing room, the cafe, the market, bon dia. You're saying hello not because you know the person, but because you're establishing a kind of social network, if you like, aren't you?
You're just throwing it out there, and like, let's say it's an old lady having her soup, and she'll like put the spoon down, and she'll be like, "Oh, bon dia, feel you." Like over here, sometimes like you'll go into a room and you'll say, as soon as I'll enter, I'll be like, "Bon dia," and the thing is, there's going to be two old guys, there's going to be one old lady having her soup, and the lady who's behind the counter is going to say that, and then obviously our expats, or what I like saying, immigrants, they'll be like, "Why is this nutcase coming into this place and saying hello to everyone? What's wrong with it?"
Yeah. I think if you take anything away from this conversation this morning, as somebody who's interested in Portuguese culture, and it's underlined here by Nom de Plume, do get into the habit of saying hello to people.
Yes.
And that might be all that's needed, you know, like assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam, or bon dia, alegria. No, actually, maybe alegria is going a bit too far, but, you know, establish a connection. And, you know, it might just get you out of your miserable little self that day as well, mightn't it? To open out to other people. In France and Portugal, it's impolite to start talking without first greeting with bon dia. We've noticed this as well, haven't we? You don't just ask for your coffee. You will say bon dia first.
Bon dia.
Open the batting. Boa tarde, boa noite. Even my casual friends at work, the Brazilians, see this as a requirement. Excellent stuff there. Thank you for that. And thank you for mentioning that there, Frank. That's really good. We got lots of comments. This is fantastic this morning. Pete, you were talking about 99% the same. 20 years ago, we went trekking with orangutans in Sumatra. 97% the same DNA as us. Just amazing. You were right about Portugal. People offend me all the time. Do we think Lord Gilchrist needs some special help this morning?
I think he needs an arm around him. I think he needs to sit down with the both of us, and I think he needs a nice, beautiful counseling session.
He's kind of edgy, isn't he, this morning? I think
he's on the edge. What happened? Did somebody spit in your nata? What happened?
I don't know.
Tell us.
Big person pants. Yes, point of order, chair. Mummies unite. So we have done our bit, I think, for the mummy conversation this morning, if I may say that. Ancient preserved humans is what I meant to say, of course. I just told, this is a casual sexism here. I just told my massage therapist what you just told them. Are you watching and listening to us whilst being massaged? Nice multitasking. I wouldn't mind that, actually. I just told my massage therapist he did a guy job folding the sheet. Then I apologized for the sexist remark. Would you have been offended by that? You are
no,
Airbnb.
I would have laughed it off. I would have said, yes, I actually did do a very guy job. I'm like, that's just pointing towards a characteristic that a lot of men possess. They are incompetent at certain things.
Yes. Yeah. And and again, it's in the conversation, isn't it? If that massage therapist says, actually, I don't care for that, you saying that, you could say, I'm sorry, and why is that? And then they could say, well, because I always used to get berated and bullied by my parents about this, and then they'd start to cry, and then you could put your arm around them, and then it could just turn into a lovely big hug fest. Anyway, in my school in Canada, In my city, in my youth, Finns and Italians were prejudiced against, says Suze. My school was named Hammarskjöld. Someone wrote graffiti, Farmarskjöld. Most Finns lived on farms. And that still lives on for you, doesn't it, there? Presumably a conversation, a reconciliation didn't take place around that there, Suze. As opposed to undead, I now have access to train to Busan, so you and your ladies are in for a Korean zombie movie night. I don't really understand that.
That is a very good movie, by the way.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It is a very. I haven't seen it. I've heard great things about it. Train to Busan. It's an amazing movie. I think that's something you and not the familia, but you and Mrs. M should watch.
Okay. You were sold those fish. I was sold those fish, big time. Too late for me. Take care, Gumpers. Bon night. Lots of love to you, Suze. Keep going. You'll get there. She had decided for me. That's right. She had decided which two fish I was going to have as soon as she set eyes on me, and I was two bass better off. I was. It's true. Propaganda peace begins with James. There you go. He is our minister of propaganda. We have him here with us, talking about trousers and big human clothing. Oh, that's big boy pants. Reframed for our age. Your fish lady scenario happens to be. Okay, so it happens to other. Yeah, 15 euros worth of chorizo. You might have paid tourist.
What kind of chorizo is he buying? Well, where is he going? He's probably going to a fancy schmancy joint.
That's right. And
knowing Dougie, he's probably gone to a fancy schmancy joint, and he's gone and he's looked at the biggest chorizo around, and he said, "I'll have it."
And for the rest of the day, I'm sure he was wandering around with it in his carrier bag, saying to passers-by, "Would you like to see my big sausage?" Exactly. I mean, I imagine 15 euros was quite good value for the amount of further value you'd have had for the rest.
Everyone thought he was happy to see them.
Yep. Grown human clothing. Try to have a problem with that. Has anyone been offended by grown human clothing yet? Do let us know. Call in on 913-510-303. Trump cul-de-sac. Oh, there's a key trigger word there. Fake news. Excuse me. I sent the Bluetooth. Says oh, thanks for that. And I'm about an hour behind on the stream. Oh, see, that's because if you go and have a massage at the start of the show, that's what happens. Carl, your dad sounded great. Glad he wasn't nicknamed Mr. Bollocks because he looked like he was standing straddling space up. One of my fears for the future. It's a thing. To be offended on behalf of someone else. Now, there's that as well, isn't there?
Yes.
Now, okay, let's come back to the West. That's big in the West, is it not?
More holier than the priest. So this is exactly. This is another thing where a lot of I've got to say a lot of Caucasian folks they take up certain issues with people, colored people being called certain things, and then they will become more holier than the Pope. So then they're like, you can't do that, and like a person like myself or a person who's darker than me will look around and be like, I don't have a problem with it. Why do you have a problem? This is your problem. We never identified this as an issue. We've actually got bigger issues. This is not something that offends us.
And then is it bust out into instead of the mansplaining, is it race-splaining, where you tell somebody from another culture why they should be offended by something?
And funny enough, they'll tell you sometimes these folks who really want an issue, they really, really want to be passionate about something, they will then look at you and they'll be like, this is how you should feel as a colored person. I know how you feel. No, you don't.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't have an issue with it. You seem to have an issue with it because somehow you have identified this as a big problem, and I'm saying this is not a big problem.
Have you never been that? Because I have been, and do have a tendency still, I think, for a bit of virtue signaling, and that's why I'm a bit defensive about woke people, because I have done quite a lot of that in my past myself. Full on. I think Doc called me a woolly liberal the other day. So guilty as charged in a way, but I don't see myself in those defined in those sort of tight brackets anymore. I think it's a much bigger conversation these days. But have you never been like that? No.
I've always felt this is for me. I always feel that the more that society has become toxic, this is some of the reasons where this pointing the finger, this looking at the other person and going, this is how you should feel, and this is you are the problem. And the thing is, there's never a mirror in front of you. You're never looking at yourself. You're always pointing at others. It's basically deflecting.
And that's why I would say it is a Western thing. It is a part of the
Very
Western
Western
mindset,
thing.
isn't it? Because this, with my mixed heritage, when I've been in the Far East, their grasp or understanding of the principles I was brought up on about racism in London and in the UK, kind of just, it's like people look at you like, oh right, really, is that what you think over there? And I thought it would be universal, but there's clearly people view this through very different lenses and in a very different way in different parts of the world.
They do. Well, the good thing is, remember, we had this conversation where we were talking about this. Like, let's say someone like yourself, because of that, I don't know if it was partial bullying or whatever you were going through. Because of that, you got the gift of the gab. I'm quite sure in the schoolyard, you figured out, this is the way I'm going to defend myself. This is how I'm going to go about taking care of these nitwits. I'm going to read more. I'm going to speak better. I'm going to be much tougher than you, not physically, but my personality is going to be the kind of personality you won't mess about with. So I guess there was bullying of any kind is not good, but it did something good for you in the end, didn't it?
Well, what didn't kill me made me stronger, kind of stuff.
Well, this is remember, we were talking about our mothers, where, like, let's say if you were in the schoolyard, and or if you were somewhere out there playing and you came home with a cut and it was actually bleeding, my mom would just be like this.
Yes,
it's all good.
And you better have given the other guy a bigger cut on his face.
Did you come home with just that cut? What does he have on his face? Yes, there better be, next time I see that kid, there better be a nice big honker over here, right over here.
Shout out to the Asian mums this morning.
Yes.
Okay, here's a very erudite comment. Bollocks to millennials and snowflakes. Who is this saying this, hiding under the cover of Facebook user? Who doesn't like Mexican street corn in a cup first thing at 3:45 in the morning? Not something I've tried. Have you tried that, Frank?
No. Well, if you're literally going for the run or runs.
Mexican street corn just sounds like a Cockney rhyming slang. Weaponizing words and legalizing language is a slippery slope, like you can't say war in Russia now. What? That sounds like a top piece of propaganda, that, doesn't it? That sounds like a weaponized bit of information.
So let me get this, Andy. You actually went to Russia and you heard somebody say war, and the other person took them down and said, "You can't say war no more."
Should we take it to the max here with the propaganda? You maybe do that in a Russian accent as well. And this is war.
You
cannot say war in this country. Yes.
Why can I not do that?
Would you like to deflect? Yes. I don't believe that one.
I don't believe that
one. We're in Russia now. Wokeism is almost certainly a phase. Trouble is, wokeism has.
I think Andy heard that somewhere on BBC, and he's regurgitating that information. I love you, Andy, but the thing is, you know how I feel about. No one's been to Russia lately to know what they've been doing on the streets over there, where you're at a bar having a beer, and one person says, "We're at war," and the other one looks at him and says, "You can't say that."
But he might have let his mask slip, because we know him as Lord Gilchrist, who says he's an engineering lecturer, kind of part-time or retired. He's actually got the perfect profile for an international spy. So he may have just got back from Russia and heard that.
I wouldn't be surprised, and the thing is, I can see that. Well, first of all, I can see that he's keeping an eye on you and I. So there's
that's right. He's infiltrated this community in classic style, and at the moment, I'm sure he is opening up a little hole under these floorboards, and there's a bundle of passports in there, wads of different cash, rubles, guns, and stuff like that.
He's typing away at MI5 right about now as we talk.
Yes, and we might be being eyed as.
Is it MI5? Is it MI6?
Don't keep saying that on my YouTube channel. Feminism, environment, race, trans. That's basically it. So those are the strings. That's how Dougie's got it. That sounds like a 70s concept album. The many strings of the wokeism bow, by Jethro Tull. And those are the names of the tracks. There are only 4 tracks on the album. It is a gatefold sleeve, and they all last for 27 minutes each. The first is feminism, second, environment, race, and trans. Frank's got to go suddenly. And last thought, I think biggest area of healing needed in the world is racism, says Suze. Although mildly prejudiced against in my community, my understanding is minimal because I have some blinders on. And that's a great first step, Suze, isn't it? Is being able to be in an environment where we can own our own blinders and talk about them. Thank you, Suze, for that. Well, we're going to have a special operation against the brush this morning. See, there he goes, talking like a spy. I say gypsy. Gypsies say gypsy. It comes from a gypsy, when people thought they were coming from Egypt. Interesting there. Operation 70. Oh, we're going back a little bit to the streaming that's going on at Pete's. Being woke is just a new label for being aware. Can be, can't it? Can be. James, it's the hyper woke, like me signing myself he, him, his, Mr. Those electric secateurs, are they addictive? Yes, this is the problem with tools, isn't it? You kind of end up overusing them, Pete. Have a fire plan for tomorrow with all the brush that he's been cutting over there. Grow up. That's rich. Self-awareness, introspection, taking responsibility for myself, being the best version of yourself you can, and influencing the world to be a kinder place. Yes, James, sounds great. A bit like Western civilization. It would be a good idea. Sounds like a pretty good mantra. Absolutely. I need to screenshot that, don't I? Let me just do that now. As a great takeaway this morning. Thank you very much for that. Oh, he's back again now. I had to go off and did you go and make a coffee? I wonder. Did you go make a coffee? I can't hear you. You went and got. Oh, we need you to unmute as well, Frank. I think reducing your caffeine intake might help with that.
No. Here's the thing. I was saying, Asian mom alert. This is mint and ginger tea, which I'm quite sure you're used to drinking, and I've been drinking most of my life during wintertime.
Mrs. M has been boiling up linseeds, which makes a gelatinous kind of substance that reminds me of something from my childhood. That really took me back to the Asian upbringing. Got here as fast as I could. Surely a typical functioning human being does this. Mostly. What's he talking about? The world seems kinder when you don't watch the news. I think that's true.
Yes.
Look at this.
Stop watching the news.
Under Bedouin culture, your guest has a right to stay and be provided for. We hear this, don't we, for 3 days before they even explain why they are there. That would be a different world, wouldn't it? If it was like that. And sorry, I'm just cutting and pasting and screenshots and so on because we've got a great mantra in from James there. Thank you very much for that. I think while you're away, James said this: self-awareness, introspection, taking responsibility for myself, being the best version of yourself you can, and influencing the world to be a kinder place. There we go. That's our contribution.
If you were around Carlito, and I would give you a kiss on each cheek.
Yes, I have been out with him this week. I just stopped short of giving a kiss on each cheek, but we had a nice hug. Frank, I have disagreements with Brexiteers all the time. Have you ever thought of giving that up, Chris? I still talk to them, even though they voted to. Still talk to them, even though they voted to take rights. So, even within that couple of sentences, there, he's slipping in his indignation and resentment, isn't he?
Leave it be. It's gone.
Let it go, Chris. Let it go. We still get on. Oh, that's good to hear. I also think we have a lot to learn from Ramadan. I heard a theory about fasting yesterday. Why the West struggles with fasting is because it's bad for the economy. One thing is neoliberal economic societies do not like fasting.
Eat, you fat bastard.
Yeah, eat it. And then you have some pharmaceuticals to sort it out afterwards. It's good for GDP. I also think we have a lot to learn from Ramadan. 23rd of March to April 20th this year. If anyone fancies joining us with fasting. Oh, are you going to do that, Pete? That's interesting, isn't it? That would be
amazing, Pete. That's amazing. I might join you.
Yes, from dawn to dusk. Bedouins, I heard they're intense lovers. Thank you. That slipped in very nicely. And who doesn't like that first thing in the morning? In France and Portugal. Okay, yes, bon dia then. We got to this part of the conversation. We've caught up nearly. I think there's still quite a lot of contributions, though, which is great this morning. Thank you. And thanks for being here, Frank. There is a very generous of you. That is very generous of you. But hasn't Brexit made you feel differently about the people around you? And aren't you ever tempted to open a magic bean store? Pete as well got some resentment going on there, I think, about the Brexit. In Belfast, we greet strangers with more shara, my friend. It's Irish. More shara.
Beautiful.
That is good, isn't it? The greeting, the opening gambit, very good. Rather than the frosty. The frosty is bad, isn't it? The looking the other way, not acknowledging other fellow human beings in the room, not good. I am mostly attempting to create a bit of humor around how difficult we can make communication with all the need for precise and unoffensive words. Sometimes we just need to talk. Amen.
Amen.
The bonjour effect. Oh, there's a book called The Bonjour Effect. How important meeting eyes and saying bonjour is important in France. So tourists, who is rude? Okay.
Yes.
Bonjour. And that's why it goes down so well when the English go to France and shout at the top of their voice to passers-by, bonjour. What's up with him? Bloody French. I was meditating at the start of the show. Look at you. My prime time before the Mexican street
corn in a cup.
Wow.
Carlito, I've got that thing that I know I want to talk about. As soon as you're done with this, all right. You know, about 40 years ago, they had like these Chinese terracotta warriors, and this is once again going back to East.
Can you say that?
Chinese terracotta warriors that they unearthed.
I don't think you can say that.
You can't say that.
Oh, carry on.
All right, you know what? We can be politically correct.
No, you can say Chinese terracotta warrior. It's okay, I think.
We can say that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Carry on.
So they uncovered them in the 70s, and as they started cleaning them up, there's about like 2,000 of them, and whatever. You know, when in the West we talk about the Europeans, the French, especially the Italians, they're in charge of fashion. They are so incredibly fashionable and whatever. When they unearthed them, these Chinese warriors, if you go and have a look at these statues of these warriors, they were so elegant, and they had like these scarves that they were wearing so elegantly. It goes back to, and the article that I was reading goes back to who started what first. So not only was it you stole their noodles, you stole their style as well.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Right. So the thing is, you are telling me that these people, you are telling me you king of style, you took care of style, Versace, Gucci, and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, the first Versace's and Gucci's were walking around somewhere near Shanghai many years ago, walking around stylishly, and each and every one of these warriors was dressed differently, was colored differently, and it was done very fashionably, and they were meant to protect the king at that time. So who's teaching who here?
Well, that's not the first time either, is it? Marco Polo came back to Italy, didn't he, with these new noodle things, and lo and behold, spaghetti bolognese and all the pastas, I think.
I suspect that's not the only thing he came back with, but one of the things.
What are you saying? Okay. Oh, brilliant. Okay, a few more comments. Yes, absolutely right. And that comes again, doesn't it, from going beyond. I mean, you said something really powerful earlier on, what we're taught in school. We spend a long time in school, don't we, if you think about it? But it looks like we learn very little sometimes, or a very limited bandwidth. The syllabus is not very, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be that enriching, because it's a lot of it's about a memory test, isn't it? And let's get some facts, or let's make up some facts, get the kids to repeat them, and then mark them on the repetition of these particular facts. And I think there's something has been lost possibly in the breadth of modern education, right?
There's what we are getting kids ready for is nothing. Unfortunately,
right.
Is these kids come out, they have a paper in their hand, and they say, yes, I've gone to school, now I'm going to college, or I'm going to university. However, until they travel and until they go and experience something else in their life, they know nothing about life. Many times now when I'm speaking to folks, they don't. It's the idea, I think, kids were brought up differently, I'm quite sure, in the 60s or 70s, because they were being built and they were being trained to go out into the big world out there and become a part of the community of the world. Now they're being trained to be a part of that borough or that area, so that when you go out, you can go and get yourself a job, because that's what they're told. You just go and get yourself the job, and you become one of those sheeples who will go and pay your tax. What are we taught? Religiously, you got to pay your taxes. You got to do this and you got to do that. I'm all for paying our taxes, because it gets our societies, keeps our societies going. But who are we being obedient to? What are we doing over here that we're not doing for ourselves? That we are not expanding our own horizons when we send kids to public schools and private schools, even though the private schools, they're paying more to teach pretty much an elevated version of what the public schools are teaching.
Without a doubt.
And this is what we're building them up for. We are turning these kids. I'm all for homeschooling. I've said that before. We are turning these kids into these soldiers who will just go and continue paying taxes. They will never travel. They will talk ignorant. They'll be on their cell phones the entire time while you'll be having a conversation with them.
Now you sound like an old fart. Okay,
Yes.
The YouTube channel 1420, he does street interviews with the Russian public. This is what Andrew was talking about. They were asked about the war in Ukraine, and people avoided saying the word because of its implications. Well, I can understand that. And then that becomes, you're not allowed to say war in Russia, doesn't it? So there's a nice bit of background there.
Also, that was the conclusion, Andy. Nice.
Yeah, he roll corn on the cob in the mayo mixture, then sprinkle the condiments on it, garnish with flecks of cilantro. They're not everyone's cup of tea. As we know, some people have a genetic disposition away from the dreaded cilantro there. Suze is still here. She can't go. 91 Finnish, 1% Siberian. What the hell? 7% British. Thinking a Norman connection. All right. I said goodnight. Take care. Have a good
Take care, Suze.
Suze, as we conclude on this Feel Good Friday, I think we've had a very comprehensive discussion here, and we've taken things beyond the normal envelope of discussion, and people have shared different views.
But you see, this is so nice. We need to have, as communities, we need to have more of these dialogues, and we need to have realistic dialogues. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear fluffers. I don't want to hear. Yeah, stop smiling there, Carl. You don't want people to hear people who just go about life or go and talking PC all the time. I want to hear that person's point of view, and regardless of how wrong you think something that comes out of your mouth will sound, just say it. And we should all be patient with one another.
Well said, Frank, because I was wondering what free speech was yesterday. Instead of just enjoying my life, I was wondering what and I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Free speech is not being able to say again, it's another thing that's been weaponized, isn't it? This free speech thing. You know, we're the channel of free speech. Say what you want to say. We need these platforms with free speech. Free speech, I think, is more about what you said there, is people feeling comfortable speaking. Not being able to say stupid or outrageous things, but feel comfortable in themselves speaking what's in their heart. That's my idea of free speech.
Yeah, just keep the hate in. just keep the hate on the down low. But you should be able to, and even that hate, if you possess that vocabulary, hopefully you can do it in a respectful manner. And we can even deal with the hate. We should be able to deal with the hate as well, but do it in a respectful manner.
I think our safety and future depends on us being able to manage hate, not wish it wasn't there. Because if it's there, it's going to be having an effect. So it would be great to be able to manage that.
Let's walk around the streets and find all the hateful people and
find all the haters.
with them.
Leave that to someone else. The psychotherapist, like James, certainly telling someone how they should feel is not helpful. So you shouldn't do that. should all over that as well. Excellent. Carl, months ago, James iterated Peace Begins With Me, which I think came originally from Jenny.
Who is James? Who is James?
Well, he keeps coming up with these names, you see, these complicated names. James on a Monday. The slug, the Bafana slug. I don't care what his name is. He says his name is James. I got here as fast as I could. That's James. That man right there. So, and then Nom de Plume described him as you've declared that peace begins with James. He does tend to break out the piece, so to speak, when he's here.
Is he our new John Lennon, this James guy?
Could well be. Could well
the
be.
Bifana Slug guy.
Bifana Slug guy. The sanctity of life, says Simon, good morning to you, is the idea that human lives are inherently valuable, more valuable than any other material thing there is. I'm concerned about that, about so many weaponized ideologies having human beings hate themselves or being embarrassed for even existing. That sort of thing, I think is worth a little bit of a conversation as well. Please don't feel bad about being a human being and having a life and being here on this planet, because I know some people do, and some young people feel that, don't they? Like they're a burden. There are too many of us and all these other things, and we're creating hell on earth. Please don't feel like that, young people. Woo! A kiss on all four cheeks.
There you go. We got James excited.
I tell you what, peace would break out if we started doing that, wouldn't it? That would be a real leveler.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yep. Barometer of life is not the pain we feel or experience, but what we learn from and the contributions we make in the lives of others. Check him out. Excellent. Truth there. My wife has just told me a neighbour has just filled in the holes in the road with his tractor for us. A job done by wonderful friends. Portugal is simply full of fabulous surprises. Absolutely. Excellent. And there might even be a cabbage growing out of them soon. You never know. As well there. No offense.
Well,
let's see.
In the back over there, he might as well do Woodstock. We'll all attend.
Yes.
Woodstock,
and we can discuss these ideas further, can't we, around a campfire? Yeah. Well, bands are playing. Yes. Always be a friend. There's another sentiment, a beautiful sentiment. Always be a friend in life. I'm feeling it. Whilst we went to what could have been a controversial subject, we've managed to create an air of warmth, haven't we, around us? A nice warm air wafting around the place. And it's not that, thankfully. No offense. Let's see if we can offend any Italians then this morning with what Fiona's about to say. What of the things they claim they brought to the world are actually theirs? Pasta, pizza, style, quality furnishings. So much bragging, but all pinched from elsewhere. I can't see that how that would offend any Italians. Can you?
It's exactly the concept of British Indian restaurants. Or like I was talking to someone the other day, and they're from Birmingham. Well, a few months back, and they were saying, well, all of our British restaurants over here, like, there's this entire mile where we do like British curries, and I go, all right, say that again, British curries. All right, that's nice.
What? Yeah.
What if actually India started each one of the spices? What if they started trademarking each one of their spices? What if they actually took the clove, they took the cinnamon, everything that comes from there that has been pinched? What if they start trademarking everything and made it a situation where exactly
a bit like sort of the worst excesses of the Industrial Revolution and capitalism? You're saying?
Yes.
Wow, there's a thought. What? There's a thought. My goodness, we want our spices back.
We want our spices back. You now actually have to pay for it. You won't just get to call it mine now. It all comes from here. Why are you?
And so the menu would be like a pharmaceutical leaflet with all the licensing arrangements on the menu. So in your curry tonight, these are appropriately licensed by the following companies in India.
That's the next form of wokeism.
Ice cream, gelato, if memory serves correctly.
Now, let's not dump on the Italians, man. They've done some good.
That's right. We were just saying that because we don't think there are many Italians in the audience this morning. But that will come back to bite me on the bottom on the YouTube channel, so don't do that. Portuguese, the problem is people with tin pot doctorates like Dr. Campbell. A tin pot doctorate?
Oh, God.
Peter.
I kind of like that, doctor.
Me too. With a qualification from Bolton University. Oh, that's a bit of academicism, isn't it? Looking down on other universities are given the same credibility as people with proper qualifications. There, he's getting some traction. Pete,
is it the institution or is it the student?
I think Pete doesn't like what he's saying, so he's having a.
No, I understand, but the thing is, like, when I guess when he's taking a cake at Bolton University, he's basically saying, do you know what I mean? So is it the quality of the student? Or is it the quality of the institution?
Well, that's right. And that sounded like a little bit of good old British academic snobbery there, didn't it?
It did.
You
It did.
did,
Pete,
Peter.
Pete, we expect more from you,
Peter.
my friend.
Yes, great show, Colin Frank. Been listening while exercising this morning, using some of the Coach Turner's moves.
Oh,
That's got to
nice.
be a book, isn't it? Coach Turner's moves.
Have you done the leg splitters yet?
I was dancing in the kitchen yesterday as my exercise. I don't know what's happened to me. I'm not a
Were
big
you
dancer.
dancing? Were you dancing alone, naked?
No, I was dancing on my own, and then Mrs. M came up behind me and gave me a bit of a shock.
Oh, nice.
But yes, that's what those are the moves I've been throwing and shapes I've been throwing recently. But Coach Turner's moves, of course, yes. New video coming this weekend, trying to resolve lower back issues, improve my strength and mobility, says Simon. Oh, he's carrying on. He's carrying on with his ad hominem here on John Campbell. He spent most. Don't go there. Don't make the nurse doctor distinction to put him down, Pete. He spent most of his nursing life in institutions like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which prepared him well to appeal to YouTube viewers. Oh, Peter.
Peter.
Oh, Pete. We went to see the Terracotta Warriors when they came to Atlanta, says Sarah. Husband Steve immediately noticed that they were all wrong. Now, there's a Chinese joke in there, which I feel like I'm able to make with my... it's like, how many of them were there? Let's say there were 2,000. So to 2,000 Wongs make a right. I don't know. Let's see if I get any pushback.
I didn't do that joke, by the way, folks. You may have noticed the Chinese guy did it.
I know now. Husband Steve immediately noticed that they were all wrong. The emperor was going to spend the afterlife without women. Ah, yes, of course. Thank you very much. Stereotypes and generalizations. Not all young people are anything. Yes, well done. That is an old fart thing to say, isn't it? Yeah, trouble with young people today. I make a tea from fresh ginger, turmeric, and cinnamon. It's an Ayurvedic recipe for back pain. Sounds good.
Yes, it is very
Just
nice.
curious. Is it 10:26? It is. It was when you put that comment in, exactly. And we've extended ourselves this morning. We've given you more of ourselves this morning. Frank.
Why don't we go to 11?
Because I fancy coffee. Quite honestly,
go grab yourself a coffee.
Might put myself a shot of Berrin Ondra in there.
You're going saucy today.
Have we got any ideas for the wine club tasting? Because it's not going to be next Monday. It's going to be the one after. So we need something to taste and to be on the screen quaffing a week on Monday. All we be known and revealed through the passage of time.
Absolutely. We'll do something. Should we set something out where like everyone will try to cook something similar and try and drink something similar, so we can all get together and have a nice festive thing together. I think that should be the idea.
Have we not been trying to do that for the last 3 years?
No. But what we've been trying to do is we've been trying to get people to buy the same wine, everybody drinking the same wine, and everybody eating the same food. What I'm saying is that we say, all right, we're going to do red wine like you have, and then people bring their red wine in, and then we say, all right, we're going to do we're going to do Salisbury steak like all British folk do, right? And then you make your version. You make your version of Salisbury steak.
Okay. No, is what I think today, because I didn't even know what that is. So try not to be. Try not to be too judgmental when none of us know for sure. There, from Simon to Pete. As I mentioned earlier, we are 99.9% the same. What is so hard about that? Primal power struggles seem to continue. They do, don't they? But isn't it the right thing in the right place? Because as Portuguese was saying earlier on, sometimes he just wants to say bollocks to people, and sometimes that is the right thing.
It is.
But sometimes it's not the right thing. Sometimes it's shutting down a conversation because you feel uncomfortable, and that I wouldn't recommend it there. And I think it's the same here, isn't it? We do need that difference, don't we? That is the spice of life.
Well, you do need an outlet. Yeah. It's like, did we not talk about this? Is like most of the time in life, I think you did agree with me. Is I will not trust someone who does not swear and does not drink. Yeah. If they've got health reasons, then I understand. But the thing is that
for that.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're an individual who does not swear and you are like, you always PC and whatever, I want to know what you are doing. I want to know what's going on with you. What's behind that curtain? Something
is
scary.
It a service? Is it a professional service you offer? Do you do this?
I do offer to instigate some kind of swearing, to instigate some kind of bollocks
Okay. Yes. All right. I have to send you a picture of my dad. It's like the patron
Good
saint of
guy.
this
I
endeavor.
love him.
Just say it and be prepared and open-minded enough to deal with the reactions to what you say. Yes, that's the free
Yes.
speech we're talking about, isn't it? Frank, we have not properly met yet. I don't know what that involves, a proper meeting.
Oh, let's meet properly. What the? I'll bring the bottle of woman.
Okay, I think you need to look at the T's and C's before you agree to meet anyone properly. I'm just used to the stream ending at 10. Yeah, we all are. I don't know what happened this morning. It's keeping me up from going to bed, but I can't look away. Isn't that good?
Yes,
There we go.
that's good.
Mission accomplished. And then suddenly we're going to disappear, leaving you wanting more in the true tradition of show business. The first recorded labor strike was when garlic rations were cancelled to slaves in Egypt. The slaves won. How about that? As a bit of a random factoid there. Sarah Yeoman, the Terracotta Army were quite frankly, not good, then we'll say, Pete. He wasn't happy about it. Maybe it was propaganda as well. Great show this morning, Carl and Frank. Ready to take on the rest of my... Sorry we're taking up so much of your time. Great to see you, Christina.
Great to see you, Christina.
Sometimes being offended for others can lead to racist behaviour, misunderstandings, and a breakdown in cohesion of society.
Yes.
Not sure exactly what you mean, Chris, there, but I mean... But we still got to go into it. We've got to have those difficult conversations, haven't we? Because no racist, I think, ever sorted themselves out by
Chris,
being...
are you still like 2 minutes away from me?
Occasionally he is, isn't he?
Yeah, occasionally he is, right? He's around. He's around here somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
As a man of the world, Frank, would you agree with my view on racism, that no racist was ever cured, if you like, or elevated, or had...
Yeah, he was made to shut up. That's what happened.
Now, this is a problem, isn't it? If you just shut down that and you ridicule it and shame it, which I understand why people want to do that. I do totally get that. I'm not saying, that it makes it right what people are saying because you stop shaming them. But it doesn't seem to correct the behavior, does it, of people? Or
it doesn't. You're just pushing it deep down, and this individual at in a very, very bad situation in a train somewhere, all this will boil out, and it will be horrible. Why are we not letting? You know what? The racist person, why are we not engaging these people? And I know this is dangerous territory, but why do we not do that? Why are we so afraid to hear the ugliness that's going to come out from there? Each one of us has some form of ugliness. This particular one is horrible. However, if we don't engage, it's going to get pushed down. This individual will take it out, and God forbid, it will be violence, not just verbal.
Yeah, I think that's right. Sadly so. Porta Seis Reserva is the wine that's being put forward by Chris. Good shout on that.
Nice
That's one. That is a global one.
There are better ones out there. Come on, man. Like,
all right, maybe not a good idea. That is available from Trader Joe's and Aldi, though. Keep them laughing as you go. Remember that the last laugh is on you, and always look on the bright. Cheer up, you old bugger.
Oh, there you go. 3 peas in a pod.
Oh, still on. Yes, we are.
Hey,
I don't eat beef or pork or drink alcohol. What's left for the virtual party? Mexican street corn.
All right, this is the third time I'm hearing Mexican street corn. What is the deal with Mexican street corn? So it's street corn, that is sold on the street.
Yeah, I'm just not feeling it yet.
I'm not feeling it. Tell us what you're talking about. Like, what is this Mexican street corn? What does it do? Like, is this some kind of a meal? Some kind of Mexican street corn. Is it corn on the cob? What is it?
Yes. Okay. It was a cilantro recipe that we were talking about before, but I still know clearer. And I want to know what is it that grabs you about it, nom de plume. Last time, says Pete, Chris and Andy were around the corner from you. You had a problem with your pipe work. Is that you?
Yes. You. Obviously, I had a problem with the pipe work because you guys were around.
Is that sorted out now?
It's all sorted out, and it was actually very, very sweet of Andy to come and offer me and be the plumber. It's just that I had already gotten a plumber, so that's what happened.
You didn't like the idea of an international spy handling your plumbing.
Exactly.
After seeing Born Identity and James
once he goes under the hood, guess what will happen? MI6 will know.
And you'll fall in love deeply.
Fall in love deeply.
Yes. Okay, Frank, I think we should leave it there. Manful effort this morning. Great to talk with you. I think we've had a far-ranging compass over this. We didn't get around to talking about GMT and why the Greenwich Mean Time, why the Brits who decided what the time would be across the world chose to be in the middle. And not
Why are we deciding things? Who's deciding things? No, here's the thing. It's not about why are we, because we are not. Who is deciding? The main thing that we should leave the audience with is to think about who is deciding this and why are we allowing them to decide it for us as a society?
And is it still a good idea?
Yes.
Time zones are a good idea because they stop trains crashing into each other.
Yes.
Not a lot longer than 100 years ago. That's the time we've had time zones, and on one level they're quite useful, but they're also quite interesting, aren't they? They've become a kind of prison and rigidity as well. So you're absolutely right. Let's look at these. That's where our conversation was meant to go this morning, wasn't it? It's like looking at what so-called received wisdom and the things we've been taught. Do these things serve us? The things we've taught ourselves, the things we teach each other, things continuing to teach children, do they truly serve humanity?
Are these folks contriving to frighten us, or are they contriving to educate us? This is something that we need to know. Is what is in it? Because everything is being sold. Are we buying stuff that we don't necessarily need?
Good point to end on, and that includes old ladies selling you fish at the supermarket. Do I really need that? It is not only fine,
You do.
but it is human to feel all our feelings. And if we don't intend to oppress and harm, we then need to also be responsible for expressing those feelings in healthy ways. That goes completely with what you've been saying. It just remains for me to try a few dad jokes on you, and let's just a little palate cleanse, and I should issue the appropriate warning for that.
Warning. Warning.
Oh, yes. It has come to that time to wish you a bon fin de semana and share with you a few dad jokes before we go our separate ways this morning in a nice leisurely way. I've really enjoyed talking to you this morning, Frank. Always do.
Same here. Always do.
You again, my friend. And those dad jokes then, first of which, in the past, most people owned horses and only rich people owned cars. Typical. Today, the opposite is true. That is true, isn't it? How the stables have turned. Sorry, I missed the punchline there. I just thought that was a pithy comment. But the punchline was, let me do that again. How the stables have turned. Ruined it, didn't I? A good pun is its own reword. Oh, that's good.
That's good.
And a man driving a stolen car. News just in. A man driving a stolen car crashes into a woman driving a stolen car. It's Bonnie and Clyde.
That is good.
Classic.
Ended on a good note.
Fantastic.
Just like we like to do it.
Love to the Algarve, my friend, and we'll see you real soon. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you on Monday.
Great weekend, folks.
Okay, ciao, ciao. With some
Bon fin de
local
semana.
migration in Monday. Bon fin de semana. Ciao, ciao.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Sorry, I just need to stay on the screen because there was something I forgot to mention. So showbiz here, aren't we? This is tomorrow evening or in the early hours of Sunday morning, a new show. It is this one, folks. It is Hello America. This is Portugal. I'll be staying up till 1 a.m. Sorry, that's not the best high definition graphics there. But for those of you who are listening to the replay in America of this show a little bit later on today, I'll be staying up so that we can do this live together, okay? So I look forward to your company. In the following time zones, I'll be up at 1 in the morning in the early hours of Sunday, which will be 8 EST, 7 CST, 6 MST, 5 p.m. on Pacific, and 4 for the Alaskan time zone, and 3 for Hawaiian. So I look forward to seeing you in the early hours of Sunday morning in a time that suits you over there in America for the very first Hello America. This is Portugal. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao.